Hello learners, welcome to this session on understanding tourism. Today we will cover two very important aspects. I have listed out a few learning objectives. After this session, you should be able to understand the origin and the development of mass tourism and how package holidays came into being. You should also be able to outline the reasons for the growth of tourism and also determine various changing and emerging trends in tourism and their importance as well as their implications. Now, the story of travel, it started right from prehistoric times when early man moved from one place to another in search of food. And as civilization sets in, trade and commerce was the primary purpose of travel. There were also travels for military activities because they went to conquer other neighboring areas. Then people also started traveling for religious and knowledge seeking purpose, and eventually these travels were also extended to travel for leisure and pleasure, which we now call as tourism. Now, people who travel away from their homes for pleasure are designated as tourists, and in recent years it is not only pleasure which is the purpose of travel. Now it has been extended to include almost everything except for travel which involves earning remuneration. By the 19th century, tourism had transformed considerably from its earlier motivation of travel for business and religion, and between the two world wars in the industrialized countries, people had higher expectations and greater entitlements. And technology has also brought the means of transport within their reach, especially particularly the automobile. And with the post-war economic boom, material conditions of life were much better than the days of the Depression. Now, when you talk about the Depression, I am referring to the Great Depression, which was a severe worldwide economic slowdown that took place mainly during the 1930s. It started somewhere around 1929 to lasted for about a decade till 1913, from 2029 to 2039. Now, the world wars, First World War was between 1941 to 1918, and the Second World War, it commenced right after the Great Depression in 1939 and it lasted till 1945. Post the Second World War, in the 1960s, the economic boom, it began to spread much more widely, and international tourism, it began to reach the mass markets around the globe. Now, such changes were bound to have an impact not only on the nature of tourism, but also on the number of people participating in touristic activities. Essentially, traditionally, this mass tourism, it emerged primarily as a domestic business up to the 1950s in most of the countries. Mass tourism traditionally emerged primarily as a domestic business up to the 1950s in most of the countries. International tourism, it formed only about 5% of tourist activities in the 1930s and the 1940s. By 1970s, the foreign holidays had accounted for about 20% of long vacation, and these were mainly undertaken by the Americans, the Britishers and the Europeans. Now, today international travel, it occupies the major chunk. Now, in the early times, where do people travel? The focuses of the early mass tourism were the seaside resorts and the spas in Europe and the national parks and natural beauty around the summer camps in America. And traveling were mainly done by rail or by car, and especially the middle class tourists, they used the boarding houses or the hospitality of friends and relatives or holiday camps. Thus, they saved on money by using the accommodation of thus they save on money, and this money they have at their disposal to spend it on other leisure activities. Now, the private operators, they also started providing cheap accommodation, mass catering with a range of amusement and entertainment, and in this way the package tour emerges. Now, this idea of the package tour, it started spreading to the upmarket hotels, and then they began to include swimming, tennis and dancing in their facilities to make it much more attractive. By the 1950s, wide-bodied jet aircrafts with a capacity of more than 400 passengers, it reduced the cost of air travel, and the mass tourists, it emerged at the resorts all over the world. Now, for all those who wanted a less regimented and more flexible holiday plan, what they do is they started staying in tents, caravans and chalets. Now, this has been given by the tour operators or the person who are in business, so that they differentiate between the mass tourists and the special type of tourists. The Club Mediterranean, a total resort concept that emerged from the need of a group of young French families looking for a complete holiday, soon began to spread to all regions of the world. Now, this posed a challenge to the tourist suppliers. Now, the suppliers of the tourism product, they have expanded their output and they sharpened their marketing skills. And while they were doing the marketing research, the concept of motivation and its diversity or changeability amongst different groups of tourists, because no groups of tourists have got the same type of needs and aspirations, everyone is different. And because of this expertise in dealing with motivation, it led to the development of different types of tourism, which involves large number of tourists. Now, as countries around the world they began to notice the impact of tourism on the national and the global economy, the destinations, they also started to market themselves and portray an image of a particular market segment, so that their target market is identified and then they can satisfy their needs and their wants. Now, those destinations that catered to the largest numbers, they soon became stereotyped as tourist ghettos. Ghettos, as we know, these are an isolated pocket. Why they are called as, or why they are stereotyped as tourist ghettos, is because they looked alike and the facilities that they offered, they were all standardized. And today, as new destinations are emerging, the international stereotype is giving way to ethnic types, which has an underlying uniformity with a viewer of local culture and identity. Now, there are various reasons for growth of tourism, and as students of tourism, you should be aware of all of them. We will try to list them and then discuss them one by one. Because tourism today is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, triggering economic growth of countries and generating lots of jobs. In all the developed countries, particularly those in Europe and America, as well as in the developing countries, especially China and India, it is now a part of the lifestyle and not only limited to the aristocracy or the rich, but also has now come within the reach of the common man. Common man have also started traveling. The United Nations World Tourism Organization, which is a premier tourism organization, it estimates that internationally there were just 25 million tourist arrivals in 1950. And in a span of 62 years, in 2012, people who traveled to another country as tourists hit the 1 billion mark. 1 billion, which means 1,000 million. And again, in another, from 2012, in another 6 years, in 2018, this number has increased to 1.4 billion international arrival per year. So, this is a huge increase. In fact, a 56-fold increase from the 25 million arrivals recorded in 1950. Like I said, there are a variety of reasons why tourism has grown massively as an industry over the last century. Let us go through some of the significant ones. The first one is more disposable income. So, what do you mean by disposable income? Now, disposable income is the extra money that people have after all the basic needs have been taken care of. So, what are the basic needs? We have food, we have clothing, we have shelter. Now, education is also included in that. So, the amount of money which is left after you have taken care of all these needs, this is at your disposal to be spent. So, the rise in the disposable income can partly be attributed to more employed population. Then there is a rise in salary structure, more double income families, because women have started joining the workforce, and now people have started having fewer number of kids. To smaller families, less money required for holidays. Now all these things, it increase the likelihood of people becoming tourists. The second point is the change in the social structure. People now consider a holiday as an essential item and not the absolute luxury it used to be. Every other few months, people always travel. And after the world wars, people realized that there were more to life than work. Because during the war, the men had been stationed overseas and they have been exposed to new places, new culture, new cuisine. So when they came back with lots of experiences. And the thrill of going to another new place was there. And like I said, like more and more people have started joining the workforce. Now this was a defining moment in the changes which brought about a new social order. Women have started contributing, and when the contribution is there, obviously the disposable income as well as the acceptance by the society has also crept in. Let's talk about holiday entitlement. Legally, all countries in the developed as well as the developing world have increased the number of holidays a person can expect to receive per year. So in Italy, if it is 42 days, they have the maximum number of paid holidays in a year. France has 37, Germany 35, Brazil 34 days. United Kingdoms have 28 days of paid leaves. Canada has 26 days. Korea and Japan, they have about 25 days, and the United States among them has got the least with 13 paid holidays. So the average is around 3 weeks of paid holidays, and inevitably if people have more time, and when I talk about time, I am talking about leisure time, then there is a greater chance that they will use some of this time in the tourism industry, because who does not want to go and take holidays? So obviously tourism or travel to other places comes up in that list. Again, the recognition of tourism as an industry has given a huge impetus to the growth of tourism. Because tourism provides employment, they earn foreign exchange, and then they diversify the economy. Now this realization has made many countries to invest in special infrastructure like roads, railways, facilities, which makes it easier for the tourists to communicate, to be more accessible, and therefore there is a lot of investment by the various government to make sure that the facilities and the infrastructure are there. And especially travel documentation has also become much more easier now. The bilateral relationship that you have between two countries also impact the type of ease of travel that you have between those countries. So apart from roads, railways and hotels, travel documentation, the ease of travel documentation is another one factor. Now the advances in travel technology resulted in a smaller world. By a smaller world, it does not mean that the world has shrunk. What I mean by smaller world is you take less time now to travel from one place to another, and less time means there is less fatigue of travel among the tourists. So obviously the faster means of transport and the development of the efficient transport network, it makes the places and the destination more accessible within a short period of time. This again is another impetus for the growth of tourism. Then innovative tourism product. Many unusual tourist destination and attraction are being developed and are on offer. And now there is a greater variety of holidays, a plethora of tourism product to choose from. In fact, you are bombarded with so many choices that it becomes difficult at times to choose one over the other. Now all inclusive package holidays therefore has become very popular. Apart from the tourism products on offer, if you do not know whether this tourism product exists or not, then there would be a kind of gap between the product, the supply that you have and the demand which will be generated. So increase awareness of attraction, the destination as well as the tourism product is also making travel a much more attractive options now. People are becoming more aware of travel destination and other attraction. Now children, they learn about the different places at school. We also watch them on television programs, we read the newspapers, and we browse the internet. Now this awareness, it increases the people's expectation, and the wide coverage by the media has a big role to play. Now extensive coverage of holiday types, it increases the demand to travel. Another important point which promotes tourism or travel is the travel trade shows. There are lots of travel trade shows happening, and this work as a factor to promote tourism by offering a platform for the various stakeholders. There they showcase their services and their products, which is open both to the public as well as to the industry. And it is kind of a combined place for them to have discussion over various policies that needs to be changed, that needs to be introduced, that needs to be deleted, other trends, and how to improve its growth. So it is kind of a platform, a discussion platform. Now people have become more open to alternative travel and other destinations. Now this is what we call as a changing attitude of the people towards travel. Previously, both domestic as well as international tourists were going to popular destination. Now both of them are expressing continued interest in exploring new and lesser known destination. And with improved connectivity and the penetration of the internet, more and more such destinations are coming to light and catching the eye of the traveler. In this way, the sustainability of a destination is also maintained. Popular destination where lots of problems were happening of pollution and other things are also being taken care of when it is diverted to an alternative destination. Now, greater or longer life expectancy is also another factor. People are living longer, so they have more time to travel. Aging or the elderly population, retired people are able to travel in their free time. And the numbers of retired people in the developed world are higher than ever before. They have cash, they have better health care, and then because they are living longer, these are important influences in the growth of tourism. Again, we have cheaper and easier travel, like lower airfares, budget airlines are coming up, and then package tours are also making travel much more affordable. Now the communication revolution is one of the most prominent factor which fueled the growth of tourism. Because without communication, you will not be able to portray or to showcase what you have in the form of supply. Like if you have lots of tour packages and then you are not communicating that to your clients, then who is going to know that these products are there? Internet booking, advertising is a big thing now, and before you book your holidays, you can take a look at the reviews which is given. You can walk through your hotel online, and you can find out about the nightlife and the places to be visited, the food that is there. So these are all helping in fostering the growth of tourism. So in a nutshell, it is not only about the convenient and faster processing of travel documentation, it is more also about an amalgamation of so many factors coming into place. And the visa on arrival is another factor, because when going through the visa process is a time consuming one, and especially if you go to the United States of America or the United Kingdom, the visa process will take nearly a month or so. But when you are given visa on arrival, then that hassle of going for that documentation gets over and people are motivated more to travel. India has also started the visa on arrival in 2014 with over 40 countries. And since then, the data which has been collected by the Ministry of Tourism has seen a rise in the number of foreign visitors. So this is another important factor which is not only lowering the travel barriers, but also for making sure that tourism growth is on the rise. Again, another factors, we can say the rise of middle class and naturally the changing attitude of the people towards travel. All these factors, they contribute to the phenomenal growth of tourism. Now that we have known what are the factors which contribute to the growth of tourism, there is also another aspect of tourism, which is the trends. Now, every industry has got their trends and motivations, changing demographics, lots of older people are there, the younger generations are coming up, and with that the expectations level also changes. There is advances in technology, changing social structure, all gave rise to important new tourism trends. And as tourism professional and also as students of tourism, you should be aware of all these trends so that you can understand, you can plan, you can adjust, and you can act accordingly. This is how it goes. Now, some of the important trends which is coming up. Advance booking is preferred for multi-day tours, but last minute booking are increasing for shorter duration. And the travel research of some travel organization, it shows that reservation for tours and activities which last 1 to 3 hours, they tend to be booked when they reach the destination or just before this arrival. Now, why we need to focus on this trend is, it makes it much more difficult for the tour and the activity operators to plan their resources and staffing in advance. And if people don't come, and you cannot forecast how many people will be coming, this is a last minute decision. So all this you have to factor when you are deploying your human resource or when you are trying to manage what are the type of tour options that you have to give to the target clients. Now, travelers, like I said, they are also visiting new destination and they are requesting for new experiences. They are not satisfied with the popular trade of the mill. You go and see some famous tourist places, you eat in famous restaurants, and then you come back buying some souvenirs. Now, tour operators, because they are receiving requests for unique experiences from travelers, because they want to do something that is a once in a lifetime activity, it is becoming, and this is becoming all the more common among the younger generation who want to explore the world and also share their stories with others. That is the reason why the social media has become very active after each and every travel. Taking selfies during tours is again an important part of the tourist itinerary. Like I said, there are many people who have died taking selfies also. Eco tours are in demand, and again, as per a tourism survey conducted by a travel organization, ecological tours are one of the most popular one, because these are usually rare experiences that educate and at the same time share the inside information on the area. Not only that, they also show how to protect it for the future. And eco travel, it includes simple changes, like supposing the availability of the carbon credits when you are booking a flight, or the option to rent an electrical vehicle instead of a conventional one. And there is a growing concern among today's traveler for ethical and sustainable tourism option. And the tours that use the proceeds, some of the proceeds to fund ecological projects like habitat restoration of animals or forest conservation, these are being preferred from other alternatives which do not have a cost. And again, tourism with a volunteer element. Perhaps you are working on a nature reserve when you are on holiday, or you are engaging or contributing in some conservation work. This is another important example how people want to contribute and how people want to experience new things. Then again, skip the line tours are also becoming popular. Now, this is understandable. When you are promised a hassle-free travel, and to top that, no waiting line, no standing in the queue, then obviously you would want to take it. Skip the line facilities are available at some of the most iconic and popular sites in the world, like the Eiffel Tower or the London Eye. This is maybe the lack of time that people have, which is propelling it. Everybody is in a hurry. Now again, travelers, they enjoy a local experience. Today's tourists, they don't want to be insulated from the places they visit. They want to be more interactive, they want to be immersed in the local culture, they want to do what the locals do, the local cuisine, celebrate the regional festivals and holidays also. Airbnb experiences are offering a solution to this, wherein travelers can book a local experience with a local person. Then there are homestays, where one gets to stay with a host family. In this way, tourists, they also learn about the local culture, and they are exposed to different and new experiences, first-hand experiences, you would say. Now, walking tours are also there. Tours at the new destination visited is another emerging trend, and when it is led by a destination expert, such tours are a great opportunity for meeting other travelers, and they have all the questions and their queries answered. Solo travelers, women travelers, these are again, traveling is a holiday, basically a family or a group affair, but solo travel is taking up in a big way. Women are also coming out as an all woman trips. And we have so many other tourism trends which is coming up. Like you have this, not only the cruises and luxury alternatives are there, but personalization. We don't want the standard traveling processes, which is no longer enough, and people are looking for personalization. Obviously, when you are recognized, when you are appreciated, then it becomes much more, and your experience are closely related to your desires and expectations, and obviously, we tend to return more and use the same services. Now again, in almost all the leading airlines, there's personalized services for frequent travelers, corporate and celebrities are there. One concern is the compromising of the personal information. Bleisure travel is one such area which is coming up. It is a trend which refers to combining leisure and tourism with travel for business, and wherein during their off time they enjoy or they take to tourism activities. Robots, chatbots and automation is again a big tourism trend. Then the robot staff trend in luxury hotels. For example, Hilton hotel chain has a robot concierge called Connie, which is quite popular and also eye-catching. They have reception duties, food and drinks they serve the food and drinks to the visitors, which makes it a novel experience for them. Now, chatbot is another innovation, and this is specifically tailored with artificial intelligence, and they can browse through large sets of data and handle the customer queries with information within seconds, which is not humanly possible. And another peculiar characteristic is that the more the AI interact, the more smarter it becomes. So AI, it helps to personalize the experience of finding and booking tours and trips, and they also help identify the likely needs of the guest. The services can be fine-tuned to meet the guest needs and preferences. Virtual tours, guides for tourism and self-driving vehicles, which this will again become another trending facilities in the future. Recognition technology we have discussed before also. Now this technology, it includes recognition through retina scanning, which is in your eye, the facial recognition, fingerprints and other biometric identification body methods. And one major application area is the installation of the face recognition enabled camera at the gates of airports and hotels, wherein they can read the data on the traveler's passport or the ID card, and then they match it to their face. Now this is a personalized type of facilities that you have, and at one go you can have all the bonuses, the loyalty schemes or discount code of that particular client at the click of a button. Voice recognition is yet another application, and it is much more convenient for customer to switch to voice interaction wherever it is possible. Instead of going through your smartphones, if you can say it, then it is much more convenient for us. The Internet of Things, these are gadgets which are equipped with a microprocessor and some form of digital connectivity, which are allowing them to connect to and to be controlled from the internet. Now it allows everyday smart devices like your smartphone to communicate through the internet, and it offers a multitude of opportunity and benefits for the travel related activities. For example, when you go to a hotel room, you can adjust and you can control the heating and the cooling system without touching anything. No fans, no switch. Then booking of activities is also made easier, and then you can use it to issue warnings on the necessity of repairs or the replacement of certain appliances. Online booking is another tourism trend, which is taking up more than 57% of all the travel reservations that we have. Now, travelers, they have a perfect opportunity to review a great variety of deals on the web and choose the one which is much more value for your money and which meets your expectations the most. So, in this way, we have lots of technology which is helping us in setting the tourism trends, the virtual reality and the augmentation sites are there, and then your visitors can now visit the destination, fragile destinations, without being there physically present through the virtual reality technology. Whereas VR simulates entire environment and experiences, augmented reality, it combines the real world experiences and the virtual elements. So these are some of the tourism trends which you as students should be able to comprehend that. That way you will be able to, like I said, to plan if you have to give up new products or you are trying to meet the new experiences and the high expectations of the tourists who are becoming much more demanding. Then nowadays with over tourism also, attracting the right type of tourists is becoming very popular. So in a way we can say we have covered about the types of or the factors which influences the growth of tourism. We have also talked about some of the significant or the important tourism trends which are coming up, and you should be able to imbibe all of this along with your studies, and this is how a professional is trained. So I hope you have been able to benefit from this session. Thank you for your time.